It's nice to see you again in this video. Now, in one of my previous videos, I created a video when we are working on our SQL injection on our union attack or using union attack, whereby we determine the number of columns returned by the query. So in case if you didn't watch that video, I will be leaving the link in the description. So these labs are found on our Podswinger Academy. In case you don't have an account with them, you can go on and create an account, and I'll be also leaving a link to all the labs here so that you can just click on any lab you want and just start from anywhere. So today we are going to be working on this lab here, which is SQL injection attack or SQL injection union attack, finding a column containing the text. So I'm going to right click on this, open in another tab, and let's come to this tab and see. So here they go on and tell us that this lab contains a SQL injection vulnerability in the product category filter, whereby this is similar to what we saw in our first video of the union attack. They say that the results from the query are returned in the application's response, so you can use your union attack to retrieve data from other tables. To construct such an attack, you first need to determine the number of columns returned by the query. You can do this by using a technique you learned in the previous lab. The next step is to identify the column that is compatible with our string data. Now, they tell us that this lab will provide a random value that you need to make appear within our query results. To solve this lab, perform a SQL injection attack that runs an additional row containing the value that is provided. So I'm going to just go on and click to access this lab. Now, in our first union attack, we found a way on how we can find the number of columns that are being returned in our, let's say, our query using the union attack. This is where we use the union select, null, and a couple of nulls depending to, let's say, how many columns that may be returned back. You'll be able to see this. Or we can go on and use order by, whereby we can just change the numbers, and with the order by our information will be sorted. So coming back to this is similar to what we worked on in our first union attack video. I'm going to choose my pets here, and they say that this is the one that is vulnerable. In case you didn't watch my first video of the union attack, let's go on and open up my Obsidian so that I just take you through what we did. Now, we say that our union attack works with two rows, or our union clause in our SQL works with two rows, whereby one of those rows is just that the data type must be compatible. In a case one SQL statement calls out strings on numeric, the other should do the same. And another rule that we have to follow is that the number of columns must be the same in all queries. So we went on and we gave a mimic to how the SQL statement will look like, whereby we said select user email from our users table. This is what we are calling here depending to what we have here on our screen. Then we put our union and say select product and style, which is this one from our products table. Since what we have under our table and also this table, they are just text which are strings, our union will go on and proceed and execute. So how can we find the number of columns? This is what we shall be using. So you go on and say union select and put null, or you can go on and increment this until you see the number of columns that may be returned from the first query. Or we went on and used our order by. So I'm going to just go on and say order by and just provide the number and increment it until you see the number of columns that exists on the first query. So You can use any command here, so I'm going to just go with the order by. Again, I'll be leaving the link of the first video in the query so that you can see that. So coming back to my pets, this is the location that is injectable. I'm going to put a single quote and I'm going to paste that. So if we come to the order by, all you have to do is to just change the number. So if I submit that, you are going to see how the application will appear, and this is what we have: order by one, and our information isn't sorted. And I'm going to come back here. I'm going to paste my order by again, and this time I'm going to provide a 2. If we press enter, you see that our column here whereby we have the names of the product has been sorted in our ascending. You see we start with a G, then towards the T. And let's go on and change this to a 3. I just expected that if we put a 3 now, this is what will be sorted. You see that 34 is at the bottom. So if we come this side, again, I'm going to remove that and paste what I copied the other side. And I come here, I put a 3. So if we press enter, or if I submit that, you see that for this case, our 34 is at the top. So don't stop there. We can just go on and proceed with, again, with our 4, because you never know what else we might have. So if I put a 4, you see that we receive an internal server error, which means that we have 3 columns that are being called from our database. But I want you to take note here. They say that make the database retrieve this text. So let's go on and solve this lab after finding the number of columns. So coming back to our Obsidian, how are we going to do that? So since we have our union-based attack, which will look like this, and the way we can find the column that uses the strings in the replacement of the null, since we are working on the strings, or all strings in our SQL statement start with our quote, and we have our values, we end with our quote. It will look something like this. Now if we receive a error, it means this column here works with what? With not that data type. So in case it is positive, we shall be able to see the information in our view. So in case, let's say that one doesn't work, I'll move to another column and do the same thing. Here I'm just providing any letter in the alphabet, but remember they gave us the values they want us to return back or display from the query. So this is the way I'll be doing it. In case they're just numbers, I can just change that to any number. But when you are working with numbers in your SQL, remember numbers, you don't need to put your quotes, you can just write the numbers. So I'm going to go on and copy this. Perhaps let's come back and see, or before I even do that, let's first remove that, come back to the pets. You see whatever we have here. So if I go on and paste my injection here, and in case if this is successful, we shall be able to see a under here, since our union attack will concatenate information from the 2 tables. So if I proceed with that, you see that we receive a internal server error, which means our first column either is not starting with our string. So I'm going to paste that again. Let's say, what if it is starting with a number? I'm going to just change that and put a 1, but what I'm doing here isn't necessary for our lab here, just it is a proof of concept. So if I submit that, we still have the same problem, and I'm going to come back here and I'm going to paste that. We have our paste union select. Now since our letter did not return back anything, I'm going to put that to null. Come to my second one, remove this null, put a single quote, type any letter, and let's submit that. And again, we don't see anything, or perhaps let me just go on and just copy this, use this exactly in our query, and see if our information may be displayed. So removing that, I'm going to just go on and put a single quote, then we say our union select, then let me just say null, comma, going to paste my values, comma, then I provide null, then comment whatever comes before after this. So I'm going to just go on, first copy this, and I'm going to submit. So do you see that if I submit right away, our lab has been solved, which means our second column is the one that has text. So if we scroll down at the bottom, you see that our words that we submitted up have been displayed in our user interface. This is what is being called from the first SQL statement, and this is the last one that has been displayed. Now here we finished to solve this lab. Perhaps I want to see again for the number. I do expect the first one that was called, it was for, let's say, a numeric value. I'm going to just remove that. Let me put null and come back here. Perhaps let me put a 1 again, and let me see what will be returned back. So again, this is what was returned back, and we don't have a 1. So we have something in front here. It is just a space. When you try to see, this is different from what we received back earlier. These are 4 values. Perhaps let me go on and delete these, and let's submit, because when you try to see the text that we have here, there are 4, and let me submit this without a 1, and here you see that the blank one that we had is missing, which means the first column that is being returned has a 1. So we'll finish this lab, and we found that the second is the one that has the strings. Perhaps we can go on and try on the third one before I end this video. I'm going to go on and paste this. Now instead of this, I can just put null. Then the last one, this is where I'm going to put my string and test and see if the last one has, let's set a string value. So if I submit that, and we also receive a internal server error. So simply in this database, we only have one column that has the string values, or that calls the string values. So I'll see you in the next video.